Continuing with Chapter 4, we are on Segment 3 of 8. We will dive into the executive summary. Now, although the executive summary is the first section after the table of contents, it's likely to be and should be the last part of the business plan that you write. The reason for that is that it is a summary of the entire business concept and it pulls the plan together in a very short, concise narrative. Well, you can't summarize it if you don't know what all is going to be in the plan. So you've got to briefly state the key points of the business. The details obviously have to be worked out before you can do the summary. So the purpose of the executive summary is to garner interest and credibility. Now, I would argue the point that if you're doing a business plan and you're the only person that's going to use the business plan, you're just doing it for your own benefit as a business person, you could even just skip the executive summary. You don't need to convince yourself that you're credible to start your business. Now, you might want to go through the exercise anyway because you can end up using the executive summary often as like your short commercial. When somebody meets you and says, oh, hey, tell me about your business. The executive summary basically serves as that little commercial for your business. Okay? So with your executive summary, presumably you're doing it because the business plan will be shown and used by other people, whether it's a prospective partner, an investor, or a lender. Okay? So you've got to get them to believe you. Okay? So the purpose of the executive summary is to get them to believe you can do what you state you can do. So also you have to be able to let the investor or the partner know that they're going to get out of it what they want. So you don't want to forget to address that very briefly. Okay? And you also want to entice the reader to read the remainder of the plan. Okay? Business plans often are a short business plan that's thorough. It can be 25 pages, and I've seen some business plans that are 80 or 90 pages. Now, I've heard a couple times, I've been in a room with some knowledgeable people that said, business plans should never be over 25 pages. Well, you know what? It's a bunch of crap. The business plan should be as long as you need it to be to serve the purpose that you're using it for. There's no length that's magically correct. Okay? Now, if it's a longer plan, it should be long because that data and information is necessary for the purpose of the plan. First plan I ever wrote was 78 pages and I needed every page that was in there. So that person that I've heard say a business plan should never be more than 25 pages, well, that's a bunch of hooey because there was no way I could have put the information I needed in 25 pages. And keep in mind, I'm an accountant. We had an accounting firm at the time. I'm pretty knowledgeable about this stuff. So don't worry about what other people say your plan should be or should not be. Make it what you need for your purposes. But the executive summary should be sufficient to get people interested in reading it further. Because think about it. If you're being handed a document that's 25 to 100 pages, it's got to have some compelling information in the front or you're not going to want to read the rest of it. A word of caution. Do not fluff the numbers or be a braggart. Okay? Confidence is fine. Confidence is critical, I would argue. Okay? But don't fluff the numbers. Somebody that's knowledgeable about business plan and reading financial statements, they can quickly look at the numbers and see if you're using realistic expense numbers, realistic sales and revenue numbers. So do your research. It will be worth the time, but just don't fluff the numbers. Okay? So you've got to develop a sound plan built on to establish credibility. Okay? Because you don't want the person you need to help you get this business launched to rip it apart within the first few minutes. Okay? Now, we do provide an example of an executive summary. It is for a company called Zap Electrical Services. It's a company that I made up. And so I just put this together as a sample. You can see, look how short it is. It's half a page. I don't remember what the word count is on it, but you don't need an executive. If your executive summary gets to 2 pages long, do not go over 2 pages. The shorter, the better. Just be very concise with your statements because, again, this is your initial pitch to get somebody who want to read the rest. Don't try and get the details in here. Give them the big picture and get credibility. So let's take a look at what's in here. So the first paragraph, it just introduces the business to the reader. What what's the name of the business? Who are you? When will it start? And when are you intending to launch the businesses if the business isn't launched yet? So our sentence is just Zap Electrical Services has a target launch date of March 1st of 20 whatever. So, and that was it. That was the first paragraph. Second paragraph, and if you want to look at this, it's on pages 65 and 66-ish in the textbook. So we'll go through this whole paragraph a sentence at a time. So the first sentence just simply clearly states where they will do business. It says, Zap will provide residential and light commercial services to the greater York, Pennsylvania area. Pretty straightforward. The second and third sentences state the residential customers they will serve. Our residential service will focus on existing homeowners who are remodeling or updating their home. Our ideal customer has a home built in 1970 or prior. Now think about this. They're going to focus on repairs. They want homes that are older. If you're in an area that's all new construction, odds are they aren't going to need a lot of electrical repairs. So the fourth and fifth sentences clearly state the commercial customers they will serve as opposed to the residential. Our commercial services will provide upgrades and repairs to existing businesses. The ideal customer for commercial services has a building which was constructed prior to 1970 and has 5 or more employees. Okay? And the reason they just know that they put the 5 employees in there is they know that they probably have more revenue. It's a business that's established. Let's look at the third paragraph. The first and second sentences provide data supporting the target market, saying that the target market is sufficient to sustain their business. The average age of a residential property in York, Pennsylvania is 47 years old, many of which were constructed more than 75 years ago. Commercial buildings tend to be even older than the residential properties. So again, if you're doing repair, you've just substantiated that the area that you want to provide services in supports the premise of your business. The third and fourth sentences provide data supporting the local economic environment, that it is sufficient to sustain their business. It says York and the surrounding area recently has been undergoing revitalization. The revitalization has contributed to the improvement of the community, but the revitalization process has really only just begun. So let's know there's a curve of revitalization happening in the area, and they're going to ride that wave and make the most of it for a business opportunity. The remaining sentences indicate how Zap will capitalize on that opportunity locally. So it says Zap will provide much needed electrical services to the York and surrounding areas during this period of revitalization. Then, by having developed a reputation within the community for integrity and quality service, Zap Electrical Services will become a staple small business in the York region for the foreseeable future, providing electrical services as necessary. Okay? Let's look at the fourth paragraph. So they state the loan needs because he's going to look for a loan to get his business to grow. So he just clearly states it. It says, launching Zap will require a loan amount of $245,000. These funds will be used for the purchase of 2 trucks, the equipment for 2 crews, and a small supply of inventory and operating expenses. Okay? So he doesn't have to give all the details. He already told the prospective lender how much he needs. Okay? Now, something that you may want to include in it, some additional points, is the repayment terms. Now, those would be included also later in the financials, but you might want to state on here and say, repayment terms are included in the financial statements. Okay? So that way just the lender knows, oh yeah, not only have they figured out the loan amount they need, but they've addressed the reality of what they're going to have to pay back and how. Okay? Also, you might want to include the qualifications and background of key persons involved in it. Again, you just want to give very big picture stuff, state if you've got some experience in the field, or if this is a new endeavor. Hopefully you do have some experience. If you're looking for other people to lend you money, they're probably going to require it. Okay? And then address any common concerns. If the type of business you're going into tends to have problems that are ubiquitous within that industry, you want to address how you're going to deal with those problems and solve them and still be prosperous. Okay? Now, again, just a reminder, the executive summary is to gain credibility and continued interest. Okay? In the next segment, we will look at the company description, which is what you're trying to get the credibility and interest for, is then to get them to read the company description, and then hopefully they're impressed with that and they want to continue reading, and they'll get into the details of the business plan as well.